Hi, welcome to EDEC 500, week number 5. I am blessed today because it's gorgeous outside here in Illinois. We either get really hot or really cold. We don't see a lot of middle of the road temperatures, so I'm out on my porch today because it's beautiful. Um, the scripture for this week is the "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." And I think about Jesus and the role that he played. And when we look at stories in the Bible, Jesus was not hanging around with people that were the same as he was. He was hanging around with people that nobody liked. Nobody liked Zacchaeus, and Jesus wanted to go to Zacchaeus's house. So, considering that, in a world as we talk about diversity, is that we're in classrooms where the children might not look like we do. They might not have the same income that we do, live in the same neighborhood as we do, but loving each child and their family in the way that we love ourselves and our own families is crucial. So this week we're talking about chapters 5 and 6 and looking at diversity. And diversity goes beyond skin color. It can be the type of family structure. It can be the income level, genders, nationalities, religious beliefs. And so diversity now includes so much, so many differences, and not just looking at cultural differences. And so we want to support families in any way that we can. And so the best way to do that is to really understand who they are and don't pretend like you need to know everything. I think sometimes just flat out asking a family, like, oh, I don't understand what it means to be a Messianic Jew in a Christian school. So tell me what I can do to support your child or to support your family. Um, so we know we need to understand child development, big deal. We need to partner with families. That too is crucial to a child's success in school, and then understand each individual child. So, just an idea of child development is going to be beneficial, but then getting to know each child and what their needs are is going to be um, really crucial, like I said, for child success. So, we don't want to overgeneralize and say, okay, last year I had a student that spoke Polish and brought this for their lunch. So, I'll just assume that this child that speaks Polish is going to do the same things. So we want to get to know that individual child and their family. Also, get away from that view of what a typical family looks like these days, because we can start passing a lot of judgment of what we think is right or wrong, which does not benefit the child, does not benefit the family. So just learn more and as much as we can about each child. We talk about inclusion, and let's look at that in terms of development, child development. Often in early childhood, we are the first ones to identify that there might be a problem with either learning, maybe even a physical disability, because we are experts in the field. So we have to be very delicate in how we approach a parent and a family. But if we've partnered with that family, if we've demonstrated that we love and care for their child, it's a lot easier to share some news that maybe is hard for them to hear. Um, we also want then to communicate what are we doing in our environment to support their child. Children with disabilities, whether they're learning disabilities, physical disabilities, social, emotional, they can often find a home in our early childhood settings because we do have such a unique setting. It is not just a sit at a desk, do the same thing at the same time. We have a lot of room for children of differing abilities. So demonstrate what are you going to do to help their child move forward to support their learning and their needs. Table 5.4 on page 152 in your book talks about children and diversities, what we can do to help, and what can children learn about it. So I love that section of our textbook because it really helps us learn how to talk to our students about what they might see in the classroom as being different. I have a teacher that does such a great job of supporting children that may act a little differently. She had a student last year who did a lot of screaming and crying. And I thought for sure the older students in her class would be very dismissive of this little boy, but she trained them to be compassionate and supportive. And it was such a beautiful thing to see them accepting this little boy who, frankly, could be a little bit annoying and frustrating at times. But really, she approached him with a lot of love and support and modeled that for her students. Um, Howard Gardner is someone you're going to look at this week, who's one of my favorites, talking about multiple intelligences. I think it's a great framework for setting up a classroom of what you need to provide for the different types of learners in your class. You're looking at Head Start, which is another great program talking about care for a child that goes beyond a school setting and an educational setting. Your assignments that are coming up. One is this ethical decision making framework. So that's assignment number 4. And there's 2 parts to that. One is you're going to look at these questions, the framework for ethical decision making. There's a link in the assignment sheet. You're looking at that this week. You're going to think of a problem. You're going to go through those questions, list out the questions, and list out your answer to them. That's one piece to submit. The second piece is then taking that information, using that framework to solve the problem, and really focus on the pieces of the framework. Don't walk me through, here's how I solved the problem, but how did that framework benefit you in solving the problem? So those 2 components are due next Sunday. And then assignment 5 is due October 5th, but look through that. You're going to be writing a longer paper. You're going to submit that draft to the online writing lab, and you need to demonstrate that you did submit that. They will send you like a receipt, but that can take up to a week for them to get that back to you. So I would shoot for having that paper into them by September 28th. Give them time so you're not stressing at the last minute that they haven't gotten it back to you. So that's on you to get it into them on time. Thank you for those of you that submitted prayer requests to me. I love having a focus on you when I start my day because having a different full-time job, I have to say you're not always my priority, but I want to make sure I start the day thinking about you and what your needs are and keeping you in the back of my mind. You're my after-school job to think about you, read through submissions, grade assignments, things like that. God's blessings on your week. You've made it over the hump. Going into week 5, halfway done. God bless you.